Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight in today, looking at that really tense Premier League game from Sunday, May 18th, 2025. Arsenal versus Newcastle United, Emirates Stadium. We got the match report commentary, the lineups, everything we need to really unpack it.
Yeah, and it felt significant, didn't it? You had, 60,160 fans there.
Yeah.
Simon Hooper refereeing, and the pressure on Arsenal, immense. They needed that Champions League spot, needed to end that winless run.
Right. And Newcastle weren't just there to make up the numbers. They had, genuine hopes of maybe even jumping Arsenal for second place.
Exactly. High stakes all around.
Absolutely. So our aim today, our deep dive, isn't just about saying, oh, it finished 1-0. We want to explore those key moments, the tactical decisions, and really get under the skin of what this result means.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's get right to it then. Final score, Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0,
Yep.
and the decisive goal. Declan Rice, 55th minute. Assist from Martin Odegaard.
And that one goal, it carried so much weight, didn't it? It wasn't just the 3 points. It was the Champions League guarantee for next season.
A huge relief for them, I bet, after 5 games without winning.
Oh, definitely. And for Newcastle, like you said, coming in with hopes of second place, well, this was a knock to those ambitions.
Let's dig into those moments the report pulls out, the turning points. It seems like the keepers were front and center right away.
Yeah, both of them.
David Raya, for Arsenal, he had that incredible double save early on, denying Bruno Guimaraes. And wasn't it slightly ironic? It came after his own misplaced pass put them in trouble.
It really was. And, that says a lot about Raya. To make a mistake like that, then instantly recover and pull off not just one, but 2 top saves. That shows real mental strength.
Yeah, it does.
It kind of set a tone, maybe.
Yeah.
Showed Arsenal wouldn't just fold.
Fair point. And then Nick Pope at the other end, equally brilliant. That save from Thomas Partey's header. Wow. Tipped it over.
Stunning save.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really felt like either side could have nicked an early goal, didn't it?
It did. And Raya, he wasn't done. The report mentions him pushing a deflected Harvey Barnes shot wide too. And then from a corner, he makes 2 quick saves, one from Dan Burn, one from Sven Botman. Newcastle must have thought they'd scored there.
You'd think so. I mean, that flurry of chances. On another day, one of those goes in, surely. Raya was outstanding, no doubt, but Newcastle might look back and think, we really should have taken one of those, especially given how tight the rest of the game was.
True. Then, halftime, Arsenal make a change. Ricardo Calafiori off. William Saliba on. A defensive switch.
Yeah. Arteta clearly felt something needed adjusting at the back.
And then, 10 minutes into the second half, the breakthrough. Anthony Gordon, bit of a loose touch.
And Rice pounced.
Just like that. First time shot, outside the box, flies in. The report calls it a bolt from the blue.
And that description, bolt from the blue, I think that's really key.
Why is that?
Well, because the analysis suggests Newcastle had actually done a pretty good job tactically. They'd sort of neutralized Arsenal's usual attacks, hadn't they?
Yeah, seemed like it. Even from set pieces, forcing those short corners, which didn't look too threatening.
Exactly. So the goal didn't come from Arsenal breaking them down through intricate play. It came from an individual error and a moment of, brilliance from Rice.
Right. A moment of quality deciding it when the tactical battle was maybe a bit of a stalemate.
Precisely. Which underlines how these tight games can turn on such fine margins.
And the report notes, interestingly, that Rice was playing even though he had a bit of a hamstring issue. Apparently seemed to be struggling a bit later on, too.
Which just shows how vital Arteta considered him, even not fully fit. And yet he still produces that winner.
Incredible. After the goal, Newcastle obviously tried to respond. They made changes, pushed forward.
They had to.
Arsenal nearly got a second, though. Ben White had a shot that just went wide. Could have sealed it.
Yeah, that showed Arsenal weren't just sitting back, were they? Still looking for that cushion.
But Newcastle had a huge chance, didn't they? Joe Willock, the substitute, found space in the box.
Oh, yeah. Big opportunity.
And just blasted it over. You could almost feel the collective groan from the away end.
A massive let-off for Arsenal. And then right near the end, that scramble in the Arsenal box.
Nail-biting stuff for the home fans, I imagine.
Definitely. Summed up the game, really. Newcastle throwing everything at it. Arsenal desperately holding on. Tension right to the final whistle.
Let's shift to the tactics a bit. Arsenal, as expected, 4-3-3. You had Raya, Kiwior, Lewis Skelly initially, then Saliba, White, Odegaard, Rice, Partey, Saka, Martinelli, Trossard.
Pretty standard for them.
Newcastle went with a 3-4-2-1. Pope in goal, Botman, Burns, Share at the back, Livramento and Murphy as wingbacks. Guimarães and Tonali central, then Barnes and Gordon supporting Callum Wilson up top.
Now, that Newcastle setup is interesting because, as the report mentions, they'd beaten Arsenal 3 times before this game.
Right, so their system clearly caused Arsenal problems in the past.
Yeah, that back three gives them solidity, lets the wing-backs push on. It can disrupt that Arsenal 4-3-3, and the early chances they created suggested, well, it was working again to some extent.
And we mentioned Rice playing through that hamstring complaint just emphasizes his importance.
Absolutely. Especially, as we said, when the goal came almost out of necessity because Newcastle seemed to have figured out how to stop their more structured attacks.
Yeah, those open play struggles have been a bit of a theme for Arsenal at times this season, haven't they?
Yeah.
Against well-set defenses.
They have. And the report mentions Kai Havertz coming on. Perhaps, looking ahead, his full return might give them another dimension, another way to unlock teams.
Could be. Something for them to think about for next season, definitely.
For sure.
Now, for Newcastle, look, it's been a great season overall. Champions League looked almost certain for a while.
It did.
But this defeat, it means that final game against Everton is suddenly massive. They need something to guarantee that top 5 finish.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it, how relentless this league is. One slip, and the pressure's right back on.
And the report touches on that slight inconsistency from Newcastle. Great against the big teams, but maybe some iffy results at home against mid-table sides.
Yeah, that's been a talking point. They seem to rise to these big occasions, like this Arsenal game, even in defeat, but maybe haven't always found that same intensity week in, week out, something to iron out, perhaps.
So looking at the impact then, for Arsenal, just huge.
Yeah.
Champions League, kick, winless run ended, tick. Morale boost for the final home game, tick.
Yeah, and the pressure valve released for that final game against Southampton, who are already down.
Exactly. They can probably relax a little there.
Whereas for Newcastle, it's all eyes on Everton. Top 5 is still there for them. A fantastic achievement if they get it.
And they'll be desperate to get Alexander Isak back for that one, won't they?
Yeah.
He was missing here.
Oh, definitely. His goals could make all the difference in that final push.
The match stats aren't super detailed in what we have beyond the scorer. But the story feels clear, doesn't it? A tight, tense game.
Absolutely. Dominated early by goalkeepers, decided by one moment of individual quality, possibly against the run of play slightly, depending on how you see it.
Yeah, fine margins, like you said. Okay, so let's just quickly recap our deep dive then. Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0, May 18th, 2025. The Gunners secured Champions League football, thanks to that Declan Rice strike.
A goal that broke a deadlock in a game where both keepers, Raya and Pope, really shone. And Newcastle, despite putting up a real fight tactically, now face a crucial final day.
Yep, they need a result against Everton to lock down that top 5 finish.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Newcastle have performed so well against the big sides this season. How do you think they'll approach that final game against Everton, knowing what's at stake? Will they thrive under pressure again?
Good question. And for Arsenal. They got the job done here, secured the main objective, but can they build on this? Can they solve those moments where they struggle in open play, maybe use this as a springboard for a more sustained title challenge next season?
Definitely food for thought as the season wraps up.